My name is Marco De Luca.
I'm 58 years old, and until 6 months ago, I was the executive chef at Terra Mare, a restaurant I built from a storage closet and a dream. For 13 years, I ran that kitchen like a cathedral. We earned our stars. We earned our lines out the door. But none of that mattered when the investors came knocking. It's not personal, they told me. It never is, right? They brought in a consultant, slick haircut, blazer with no tie, spreadsheet where his soul should be. Said words like brand synergy and youth culture. Said my food was too niche.
Too heavy for lunch service.
Said my lasagna, my mother's recipe, lacked visual lift. I knew then they were going to take everything, but they wouldn't do it all at once. First, they changed the plating. Then the portions. Then they changed the menu entirely, kept only 2 of my dishes, renamed them without asking. They gave me a new title, culinary advisor. That means nothing. That's what you call someone you're politely pushing toward the door. They took my name off the menu, told me I'd be great for social media appearances, the face of tradition, while the new chef modernized the brand. He was 27.
Eden Tirana Kitchen.
But he could foam beetroot and stack salmon in vertical cubes. I lasted 3 months in that purgatory. Then I left.
No shouting.
No knives thrown. Just handed in my keys, shook the new chef's hand, and walked out with a leather knife roll and my grandfather's sauce spoon. They assumed I'd retire, disappear, be one of those culinary ghosts with a dozen stories and nowhere to tell them. But what they forgot is this: chefs don't retire.
Not the real ones.
We either die on the line or find a new one to build. 2 weeks later, I was parked 3 blocks from Terra Mare, standing beside a used food truck with a busted fan, faded decals, and a $14,000 price tag I couldn't afford. I called the guy anyway, said I'd bring cash in the morning. He said, "You got a name for it?" I looked up at the sky, remembered the sound of my mother laughing in our kitchen in Naples, and said, "Yeah, I do.
Let's call it Marco S."
The first night I cooked in the truck, it smelled like mildew and burned onions.
I scrubbed the flat top myself.
Fixed the fan with duct tape and desperation. Rewired half the lights using a YouTube video and a pair of pliers older than most TikTok chefs. I didn't sleep that night, just laid on a cot in the back, listening to the hum of the city and wondering if I'd completely lost my mind. I opened the next morning on a corner near the park. Paid $50 to an old vendor I knew from the fish market to look the other way about permits. The grill smoked like it was exorcising demons, and my first customer was a construction worker who squinted at my handwritten chalkboard and asked, "You got fries?" "No fries," I said, "but I have handmade ricotta gnocchi with rosemary butter." He looked at me like I'd offered him poetry when he wanted a beer. "Right," he muttered and walked away. That was customer 1. Customers 2 through 10 walked past me like I was invisible. It wasn't until around 1 p.m. that someone finally stopped. A woman in business heels and a wrinkled blouse. She ordered the meatball panini, took 1 bite, stopped walking, looked at me like I'd just told her a secret. "What's in this?" she asked. I shrugged. Same thing that used to be in the meatballs at Terra Mare, before they put a beet glaze on them. She blinked. "You're that chef." I nodded. She smiled and said, "Do you deliver?" By the end of the week, word started spreading. It wasn't fast. It wasn't glamorous. But the regulars came back. A cab driver who'd once catered his daughter's wedding through me. A barista who said she cried when they took my mushroom risotto off the old menu. Even one of the prep cooks from Terra Mare who just stood by the window and said, "It's better like this, chef." But not everyone was thrilled. 3 weeks in, I got a cease and desist from the restaurant's parent group. Brand confusion, it said. Use of proprietary recipes.
Unlicensed commercial operation. I laughed out loud. Proprietari. You man mai madre esse polenta.
Tina, a lawyer friend from my catering days, helped me file a response. Her email subject line said it best: "Let them come hungry." The next morning, I showed up to the usual spot and found it blocked.
Orange cones. Maintenance work.
I moved to the other side of the park. Same thing. Somebody was making calls. They thought they were stopping me. But what they didn't know is, I've cooked in basements during floods. I've fed 50 people with one burner and a pocket lighter. They weren't stopping me. They were just seasoning the story. Week 4, and I was parking the truck in alleys and side lots like I was running an illegal poker game. Which, in a way, I was, except instead of chips, I was dealing grilled eggplant and lemon aioli. Customers followed. They found me through word of mouth, screenshots of chalkboard menus, and a group text called Marco's Tracker, run by a teenager who used to wash dishes at Terra Mare. One day, a man in a tailored suit walked up, ordered the mushroom risotto, took one bite, and said, "This was better when it was $34 on a plate." I looked at him and replied, "It's still $34. I just don't lie to you about why." He came back the next day and tipped $50.
Turns out, honesty is an ingredient most kitchens forgo.
The following weekend, a local food blogger posted a rave review.
Called the track De Solo fa Chef on Wheels.
Said my roasted pork with citrus glaze was like Sunday dinner at someone else's family table. That's when Terra Mare noticed. I knew because 2 of their staff came by. One ordered, the other hovered. Didn't eat a bite. Just took photos. Watched. I recognized the stance. That wasn't curiosity. That was intel collection. The next day, the health department showed up. "We got a tip," the inspector said, eyes apologetic. Something about unsafe food temps, improper storage. I opened the fridge.
Everything labeled.
Clean. Fresh. The inspector shook his head. "This is cleaner than most brick and mortars," he said.
I'm gonna note that.
He left. I smiled. They weren't sending letters anymore. They were sending warnings. The following week, I found a small note tucked into the side of the order window.
Andrite non terra mare stationary.
Why not let the past stay buried? I didn't recognize the handwriting, but I knew exactly what they were trying to do. They wanted me scared. Instead, I printed the note, laminated it, and taped it to the tip jar. It filled faster that day than it ever had before. That evening, 2 of my old line cooks came by. "We're done," Carlos said.
The new chef wants to microwave risotto.
Microwave. They stood in front of the truck like they were asking for asylum.
You got room on the line.
I handed them aprons. I've got fire, knives, and no time for foam.
Welcome home.
Carlos and Danny fell back into rhythm like we never left the kitchen. Within days, the truck wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. We ran out of meatballs by noon. People waited in line for polenta and braised short rib like they were at a concert. Someone brought lawn chairs. But with the crowd came pressure. I started seeing suits parked across the street. Clipboards. Lenses. Watching. Taking notes. Then one afternoon, Tina called. "You might want to sit down." Too late.
I'm elbow deep in that confit.
She didn't laugh. I looked into Terra Mare's parent company. The same firm that pushed you out? They're prepping a national franchise deal. 12 locations in 3 states. Guess what 2 dishes are on every sample menu? I didn't need to guess.
My madre's meatballs. And your risotto, word for word.
I leaned against the truck, wiped my hands on a towel. "They wanted the food," I said quietly.
Just not the man who made it.
"They wanted your recipes. Your story. Just polished up and young and branded. Except that doesn't taste the same."
Tina exhaled.
They can't copyright a recipe, but they're trying to trademark the dish names, including Nana Rosa's Sunday sauce. That hit me harder than I expected.
My mother never got famous.
But she fed hundreds from a stove with one working burner and a chipped pot. That name, her name, was mine to protect. That night, I posted a photo of her, stirring tomato sauce in her housecoat, cigarette dangling from her lip. Caption read, "She didn't have a brand. She had flavor and fire, and no one's stealing that." It went viral. 12,000 shares in 24 hours. By Monday, every food truck in the city had a Nana Rosa's special on the board. Pork,
Marinara. Basil from a backyard garden.
solidarity. I showed up to my usual corner the next morning and found a white van parked in my spot. No plates, tinted windows.
A man stepped out.
Not a cop, not health inspector. "I'm with Harbor Point Hospitality," he said.
Let's talk.
I didn't shake his hand. "I'm cooking.
You want to talk?
Get in line like everyone else." He smiled.
You've made your point.
"But this ends here. We're prepared to make a financial arrangement. I'm not selling you a sauce. Everything has a price." I leaned in. "Then you're in the wrong kitchen." 3 days after the man from Harbor Point came sniffing around, I got a certified letter.
Inside, a cease and desist.
They were suing me for misuse of proprietary dish names and marketing interference. They were trying to erase Nana Rosa from her own sauce. I posted the letter online. Caption: "This is what corporate fear looks like. It tastes like paper and shame." The post exploded. Thousands of shares. Chefs from all over started reposting photos of my dishes with the hashtag #NotYourNana. Someone's screen printed it on an apron. I got emails from food writers in New York, Chicago, even Italy. But the best message came from a culinary school dean upstate. "You've started something. I'd like to talk about making it permanent." 1 week later, I stood in front of a class of 23 students, talking about the real work.
The line.
The burn. The stories behind the sauce. I still ran the truck on weekends. But now I had help. Carlos ran the grill. Danny handled specials. Destiny, the dishwasher-turned-host, ran social media and kept the tip jar overflowing with folded-up notes from people who said things like, "You made me taste home again." And as for Terra Mare, the new chef resigned after 2 investors pulled out. Their Instagram started posting grainy photos of beet-glazed salmon with captions like, "Chef's journey continues." The lines outside my truck never stopped. One rainy evening, as I was closing up, an older woman knocked on the truck window. She didn't order anything, just handed me a book, leather-bound, edges worn. "Your mother gave this to me in Naples," she said softly.
Taught me to steer with my heart. I figured you'd want it back.
Inside, recipes, in Italian and English.
Handwritten.
Annotated. Some were smudged from sauce stains. It was hers. It had come home. I opened the truck the next morning with a new chalkboard message. "Today's special, the dish they tried to steal, served hot with a side of truth." We sold out by noon. Now when people ask, "Are you that chef they pushed out?" I say, "No, I'm the one they couldn't keep down."
I'm the man who made meatballs man summiting again.
And I didn't burn the bridge. I turned it into a stove.